Binge eating feels like you're not being controlled by yourself. It feels like a demon is controlling you. There's some outside force that is forcing you to binge. And I remember a lot where, like, I have stories of me just going to the store for no reason, me going to the gym and then working out, doing some cardio, and then going to the store, and then me just looking at all the processed foods like Takis. And I'm like, okay, one bag wouldn't hurt, so I would get the bag and then I look at the candy section and then I would see, ooh, okay, a Hershey chocolate bar or a Snicker bar or Skittles. Okay, let me just get that as well. And then I go back through, I make a whole circle in the store. And what do I see? I see some cereal. So I'm like, a bit of cereal wouldn't hurt. And then after that, I just realized I just spent like around 30 to $40 on junk food. And I'm walking home right now and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I shouldn't be doing this. But at the same time, I can't rationally think, and it feels like something is controlling me. And I'm just walking to my house. I'm going up the stairs. I'm opening the door. I'm going to my binge location where I usually binge food. And I open the bag up. I put everything in my table, and I get ready to binge. And for some reason, I can't control it. And I'm pretty sure you could relate the same, where you have a lot of stories of times where you get an urge to binge and then you just subconsciously just start doing it. Whether you're in your house and you have snacks and you just start snacking and you can't stop, or you just go to the store or you get takeout food for no reason, and there is a part of you that says no, don't do it. But we don't listen and we just do it anyways, and it's fucked up. So what I discovered is that it's an urge, right? We get an urge to binge. And as people of a binge eating disorder, that's how we cope with emotions. And it's messed up and it shouldn't be like this. But the reality is, everyone deals with emotions in a different way. We just trained our brain and we created a habit to associate food with pleasure, removing pain, and also any discomfort. And you might be asking, what is an urge? Well, an urge is basically an instinct where your brain tells you, hey, I'm not feeling good. I want some pleasure. I want to reduce some pain. Let's get some food. And you listen to it. And just like a child nagging you for like candy for like the 50th time, you're like, okay, fine. Let me just go to the store. Let me just binge. I could just relieve the stress. I could just relax and you can fuck off, basically. And essentially, that's what you're doing. And that's what I did, right? For the past 10 years, I've been binge eating. And whenever I would get an urge, I would essentially just go to the store, get some food, eat, get pleasure, get some pain, reduce some pain, and then I move on with my life. And this process repeats and repeats, because the more times you do it, the more you train your brain saying that, hey, food is a way to relax, food is comfort, I need food to survive. And that's what we do to ourselves while we're not even acknowledging the consequences, you know? And it sucks, bro. Like, the consequences of gut health, your future self, your lifespan, your your organs, everything like that is getting fucked up because of us eating so much processed food. Because temporarily we want to feel good, but in the long term, you're gonna feel like shit. Your stomach is gonna expand. You can't eat normal foods anymore because you're gonna be constantly hungry because of so much food that you ate the prior day. Now your body's accustomed to that food, so now you have to eat more and more of it, and it's fucked up. And you're gonna feel shame. You're gonna feel guilt. You're gonna be disgusted with yourself, and all the reasons. You don't even want to talk to anyone. You're going to just be alone, and most likely you're going to binge again because you're going to feel the same kind of emotions. You're going to get the same trigger to an urge, and you're just going to binge again, and you're going to repeat the cycle over and over again. If you do see an urge as a solution to fix your problems, then you're going to always have this issue. But let me give you an example. For example, your friend is going through a stressful time. Maybe they're emotional. Maybe something happened, but they don't really eat food to counteract what they're feeling, right? They don't get that kind of urge. Well, they might get the urge, but they don't react to it. They might react in a different way. They might go to the gym. They might do, God forbid, they might do some drugs or anything like that. But that's how they cope with their feelings of an urge. We, as binge eaters, right, we cope it with food. And the more power we give it, the less control we have. And the only way to stop it is to actually just stop it. And how do you do it? Well, it's very difficult, but I could explain. You just have to retard max. So the way it works is whenever you get an urge to binge, you have to just let it go. It's just like a random thought that you just get in a day. Like sometimes you get thoughts of like, if you're at work, right, and you hate your boss, you really just want to punch him or something like that. Or, sometimes you just get a random thought of doing something that you don't like, right? Like going to the gym, sometimes you don't want to do it, right? Anything like that. So like whenever you get an urge to binge, you just have to treat it as nothing. Give it zero energy, zero thought. Just it goes through one ear, comes out the other ear, and that's like the best way I found out to do it. And it's very hard in the beginning because you've been training yourself to binge eat for years and years, and your body is so accustomed to it in your brain that something that goes off the plan, it will fight back. The urges will be stronger and stronger. The more you stop and don't give in, the less it will happen and the more progress you'll make. Now, some of the ways that you can actually control your urges is, for example, if you get an urge to eat, right? I would just highly recommend you drink Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi. It's way healthier and it's way more beneficial than you binging 5 to 10,000 calories, right? If you're still hungry after that, eat your favorite fruits or vegetables, anything that will satisfy the urge. That's the most important part. It's better to do that than to binge and then have all the consequences that you already know to have the next day. And you're going to repeat the same process again. So, what I would do is I would just drink Diet Coke at night. I would eat fruits and vegetables. I would brush my teeth, right? And worst case, if you still have the urge, you just drink decaf coffee because coffee basically blunts your hunger. I do it throughout the whole day. And at night, you could still drink decaf coffee and still go to sleep and feeling happy. And you're basically gonna feel happy that you didn't binge. You're gonna basically say, "Thank you, past Anton, that you didn't binge. I feel better now." And every time you don't binge, you want to basically make a victory in your brain, right? So you want to tell yourself, "Yes, today I didn't binge. I feel great. I feel amazing." And you want to keep doing this behavior over and over again. And the whole point of this is to reprogram our brain. We want to make sure that we associate not binging with a happy thought. It's a reward system. And the more we do it, the more we train our brain, and the more that you can basically get less of an urge to binge. Now, the most important part in the beginning of why you can't do it is because your ability to critically think and logically think is not there. Because of the lower brain, which basically is the one that is associated with pleasure, pain, comfort, right? It has so much power over you in the beginning where you cannot critically think logically that binging is bad. You know it's a consequence. You know it's not good for you, but you still do it because you are in control. The more you practice, the more you get an urge and you just brush it off, the less power the lower brain will have, and the more power the higher brain, which is more of the critical thinking and logical, then you can actually decide if you do really want to binge, right? And you'll get to that point, but it takes time and energy. It's like you've been damaging your body for years. I've been damaging my body for 10 years, right? And I've been trying to stop binge eating this whole time. It takes fucking time to reprogram your brain after years and years of damage. So, if you really, truly, truly, truly want to fix your life, I highly recommend like understanding what an urge is, understanding that if you get that thought, just pass it through. Don't even worry about it. It's like a wave. A wave is going up and then it's crashing down. It goes and it comes out like that. And that'd be the best analogy. And just think about it. It's like when you get an urge, just think of it as like a child asking for candy, right? And it had candy yesterday and had candy before that and it had candy before then, has a stomach ache and it still wants more candy. Like if you really love the child, you wouldn't really give that child more candy because it'll just hurt himself more and you're gonna feel guilty. So instead, you don't give him the candy. You might give him a carrot. You might give him, a Diet Coke, right? Anything like that that will satisfy his urge, that's what you should do. So hopefully, this explains why you're being controlled and you are right? Like 100%, you are being controlled by your brain, but still at the end of the day, it is your fault, right? But you could make a change and it will take time. But hey, man, life is way better when you have a healthy lifestyle that you don't have to binge a lot and you could literally live life and not have this food addiction in your mental real estate 24/7, constantly thinking about food and binging. It's amazing when you just let it go and you still will get urges, but they're so small and meaningless that you could just brush it off and live life.